Hi everyone. So I'm Himabindu. So I was having this 6 years of teaching experience. So I took classes at Law Excellence, IAS Baba in Bangalore, and various institutions have given lectures and worked as a faculty. So, but due to pregnancy and personal issues, I couldn't continue for the past 2 years. So I'm back. But before taking this current affairs, so I'm here to take the current affairs. So what are you going to expect in this class? So the expectation should be set first. So, and most of the students, so after the class and even when I'm teaching history and current affairs, so the students will come to me, first question, ma'am, what is the source? Ma'am, I'm not able to remember the current affairs. So how to grasp this vast current affairs? See, I'm not here to discuss about the significance of current affairs, because already many would have discussed the significance of current affairs. What is the importance, how to read, where to read, what are the sources and all those things. So that is not my agenda. My agenda is pretty clear. When you're leaving this class, you should be able to understand the topic very well, and you should also write any question that was given on that topic. That was the agenda. Okay, pretty clear. See, I'm setting the expectations very clearly before starting the class. And see, next thing, majorly this class will go around first 3 sessions, setting the orientation for the current affairs. Your mindset should change. Your orientation, the perspective, the way you see the current affairs should change first of all. So whatever you learn, first unlearn them. So sit with an empty mind, so open mind for the current affairs, especially for this class and the next 1.5 hours. Okay. So now, how many of you read the Hindu newspaper from the last week, Monday to Thursday or Friday? So how many of you have gone through this picture? How many of you have observed this picture? This is not any article. It was not related to any article or anywhere. This was just given in a Hindu newspaper. This was just, it was given there. So what was it? How many of you observed here is a Mudumalai Tiger Reserve in Tamil Nadu. So baby elephant is very cute. So that was fine. So what about this Mudumalai Tiger Reserve in Tamil Nadu? So how many of you opened your phones or the laptops and searched what is this Mudumalai Tiger Reserve? Where was it located? It was in Tamil Nadu. It borders Karnataka and Kerala, this tiger reserve. And to the west side of it, there is a Wayanad Reserve. We have a Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary. And to the north of it, there is Bandipur National Park. And all these 3 will come under Nilgiris Biosphere Reserve. Nilgiris Bioreserve, we have this Mudumulai, Wayanad and Bandipur, all these 3 will come under that. This is going to be your environmental question in the current affairs. I don't know about Mudumulai, I never read. We didn't come across in the newspaper only. I'm reading newspaper every single day. But you're not reading it in a right direction if you didn't notice this. I'll give you another example. So this Hindu newspaper will give randomly some photos like this. Every single day one photo will be given like this. So there's one time there's a picture. A buffalo was eating grass. So 2-3 buffaloes were there and they were eating grass. So on the top of that buffalo there is a white birds on the top of it and around. So if you are from the village background or if you come across villages, so when this buffaloes or the cattle rearing was going on, so there will be birds sitting around this cattle. Why there were birds around that cattle? Because when they is eating the grass, so when the cattle pull the grass, so some worms, some insects will come out of that soil. To eat that insects, the birds will be roaming around. UPSC asked the same question. So what is the bird that will be waiting when the buffalo is eating that grass? UPSC prelims question. That was a question. That was a photo. What I'm trying to tell you here is, whenever you're reading an article or whenever you're seeing something, even on the road or anywhere else, you should understand how this is going to help to my prelims examination or to the mains. You have to question everything. See, many will clear prelims in the first attempt, some will clear later. So the major reason behind that is your All will read 10 hours, 12 hours, some will read 14 hours also, consistently. But only few can score. Why? Because they are reading in the right direction. The analytical part is which will help us to reach our destination. Okay? Is that clear? Now, so what is that right direction? How will I get that right direction, ma'am? So that where this class comes in. That is the orientation that we are going to develop. I'll tell you how to make this current affairs easy. Okay? Now, so why do we find this current affairs difficult? Why do we find this current affairs difficult? See, if the class is little fast, please let me know. So why we find this current affairs difficult? Because they are enormous, too many topics, so vast, but we can't neglect it because 60% of our preparation depends on it. Just now we saw environmental questions. Environmental questions, they will be mostly from the current affairs. Not just environmental, even the history, art and culture topics will come from the current affairs. Even see, Gorbachev died. We have observed, right? Russian former Soviet leader Gorbachev died. So what we have to, when we are reading world history, so how many of you are freshers? All of you? So world history might not be done for you maybe. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, so when you're reading this world history, what we have to read, it's not the Gorbachev era that we have to cover. We have to cover Gorbachev era. At the same time, what was going on in that Cold War period? How the world is changing. How it affected the Vietnam, how it affected the Korean or South Korea, North Korea, how it happened. So many Cubans, many events occurred in the Cold War period. Between the fight between this communist and democratics or the Russia and the US. So our questions or our type of preparation for the world history should revolve around the total Cold War period, not just alone Gorbachev. Why I am telling you this is, so there is a time where many things were going on in around this Nalanda University. Nalanda University, a Buddhist university which was developed during the period of Harshavardhana, and even the Gupta period it was started, but it reached its zenith. Harshavardhana, the king Harshavardhana himself donated many villages for the development of that university. We know that. So India was taking funds from this many countries because the rest of the Asia, the east of India, they are all following Buddhism. So what they want? So they want to invest in the Nalanda University. China came forward, Nepal or the Sri Lanka, different countries wanted to give funds to the Nalanda University. Fine. But UPSC question, mains question in that year was, it was not about Nalanda University. The question is about Takshila University, which was also in the ancient period. So, but this is in this Afghanistan juncture. So, what I am trying to tell you is, what we are looking, they are there itself. So, whatever we want, they were there, but we are not seeing them. So, earlier I used to give students a small exercise. So, I used to ask them, read a topic which contains 3-4 pages directly from a Modern India Spectrum or Lakshmikant Polity I used to give. So, they said, ma'am, we read everything. But I will ask a question from them. So, same sentence without any flavor, a sentence I will ask, which was the previous year question. But they didn't notice that. They were not able to answer. Just 3 pages. So, in 3 pages, we are not able to find the answer or the question that is UPSC is going to ask. How can we find that in this enormous current affairs? How can we do that? So, for that, first thing, we need to read everything in the context. I will tell you an example. What is here context? So, this works for the history also. I will generally tell to this my history students and current affairs students, both of them. Even in the Bangalore, it worked very well. So, what is reading in the context? Suppose if I ask you, give me an directions for Vishnu IAS, give me directions for Vishnu IAS Academy. Ma'am, go straight from the RTC crossroads, take Gandhi Nagar, Gandhi Park and take left, right. So, we will give a directions because in our map there is certain landmarks. Now I am in a desert, I am living in a desert. How do I have to give directions for them to reach the Vishnu IAS or any place in that area? How can I give? So, it will be difficult for us to give. What we have to do now, we have to concretize. What is your concretization of the subject in our map? Suppose our map is a desert. Let's think our map is a desert, our mind is a desert. Now in that mind, so now I'll place different things, Gandhi Park or this. So what I want to retrieve in the examination, Vishnu IAS location. In the examination I have to retrieve. So I'll just ask the Gandhi Park to send the information. I'll send, are you understanding how the mind works? If I ask something, the mind will search for it. So if I say when I was in your childhood I did this, what goes in your mind immediately in your mind? What happens in your childhood? Your mind will search all those things. So that is the where we have to use the same technique for our current affairs. We'll read in the context. We'll form that framework. I'll explain you what is that framework. So how we have to use that, everything, this orientation and this perception will, suppose if I given in the examination, in the 10 marker question, so trust me guys, you will not find time to lift your head or stop your pen in writing mains. Your pen should continuously move on to finish that paper. So the mind should continuously give you the information. It should retrieve the information to write the exam in time and finishing the question paper. For that, we have to develop a framework. We should help our mind to develop, to retrieve that information in a faster way. Change the orientation. Read it in the context. Now, change the perception of seeing the topic. Now, I'll give you a question. In the headlines, in the newspaper, in the headlines, 77.9% polling in Naxalbari district of West Bengal. 77.9% polling in the Naxalbari district of West Bengal. What comes to your mind? See, listen, it is pretty clear. If I am not able to write it in my exam, I don't want to read that one. If I am not able to write in my exam, I don't want to read that one. What's the use of reading it if I am not writing it in an exam? If I am not able to bring it in an examination, what's the use of reading it? Right? So what it is, when you see this statement, what comes to your mind? Tell me in analysis. So how do you think when you read that statement? How do you think? Okay. So where can I use that? Just saying it's in polling happened in this much percent of polling in Naxalbari. So where can I use that information? If I'm not using it, I don't want to read it, as I said before. See, can I say democracy is deepening? Democracy is deepening. So the roots of democracy is reaching even the Naxalbari district of West Bengal, where the polling happened in a very good manner. So now, okay, when I'm writing an essay, so wherever there is a democracy, if there is essays on democracy, I'll use this. How elections promote democracy? There I'll write this example. What is the benefit or advantages, or you can say what is the good work of election commission? Conducting a successful election in Naxalbari district with this good polling, with this percentage, it's a very good one. It's a very good success for election commission. When I'm writing election commission answers, I'll use this. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Yes or no? I want answers from you guys, so that if you understand, then only I can move further. Because my class of current affairs will be revolving around, see, not giving a fish directly to you. I want you to learn the technique of analysis. You should learn that. Then only you'll be able to answer, even with the presence of teacher in the class or without them in the examination hall. Okay. So the way you see should change. When it will change? So how, ma'am, how can I say when can you reach the stage where I can use this information in democracy or for the election commission or in the essays? So when you have a control over your syllabus and you have to keep on thinking, what could be the possible questions that can come from a topic? What would be the possible questions? See, I'll discuss most of the analytical topics in the class itself. There will be some topics where we can't discuss, where you alone have to answer. You alone have to work out that one. So that is the direction where this class will go on. Okay. Now, As I told you, you have to concretize the information. How to concretize the information? By developing the framework. I'll tell you what it is, we'll discuss how to concretize and how to develop this frameworks. Even after a few sessions, you will develop on your own. Okay? Do not compartmentalize the topics. That's what I'm trying to tell you here. This topic, see, many of the current affairs, when you go through different materials or everything, they'll say this is in paper 2, this is for paper 3, this is for paper 4. It will not work all the time the same. Sometimes we have to use in a public administration optional, sometimes in a history. See, we'll use it in an essays. We never know where we have to use that. In the history, suppose there was an first urbanization, Indus Valley civilization is the first urbanization of India. Indus Valley civilization is the first urbanization in India. So where I'll use? It's not just in the, whenever writing Indus Valley only. We have to use that in the essay also. If the essay is on urbanization, we have to give a paragraph on the historical note of it. There I'll use this. Okay? So that is where this topic sets in. So as I told you, you have to read it in a right direction. So diversifying the thought process and developing a framework and forming interconnections. Now I'll give you an example. Not example, you have to take a notes. So how this international relations that we are going to take. I'm giving an example for this framework. International relations. So what is happening in the international relations? Now tell me, what are the dimensions that we can work on international relations? Dimensions. If I am giving a topic, some topic, what topic do you know? Tell me the topic that you know. Any topic. Any topic. Pick any topic. Okay. Economic dimension. 1. Okay. Good. Yes. Good. Now, suppose let's think first political. Political. Next, we can go for economic dimension. So in the economic dimension, what all we can do? Trade will have. We'll do investments like foreign direct investments or other investments. We'll do infrastructure development. We'll build their ports or harbors, or we can say we'll build different lines, railway lines that will be useful for us. That is different. Next, social aspect means how we are helping for the development of their education or building houses, such type of things, or for giving education to their women, or sending food, especially to improve the malnutrition of the kids, and especially in Africa we do this. Medical facilities providing, that will come under social dimension. Think, take any country. See, here I am not standing here just to write, tell and go. I want you to develop that analytical perspective on your own. If you are not attentive in the class, it won't help. Okay? Yes, good. So it's security. So we can say strategic importance. The strategic importance of that country is very important for our international relations. Next. So security or the defense, you can say. So how many helicopters we took from them, or how many we are giving to them, or we sold this BrahMos missile to Vietnam. Such type of things. How we are training their military officers. Such type of things will come under defense. Next. Okay, disasters times. So that is one point. So you can say like this. Okay, that we can write. Say science and technology. Where we are cooperating in the science and technology. In that we can say disaster also. See, as I am going to take Indo-Sri Lankan relations today. So in that, under SARC, we are obliged to provide scientific information or the disasters information or the flow of Brahmaputra to the Bangladesh or to the Nepal rivers or the earthquakes, how it is going to happen. So we have the satellites provisions, but not to the Bhutan or the Nepal or the Bangladesh, they didn't have that much provisions. So we are providing that information to that countries under SARC. Of course, SARC is not working very well nowadays. Anyways, so science and technological cooperation. Next, think. Why we'll go to other countries? Cultural relations. Cultural relations. And then see, generally if they are neighboring countries, will have some issues, boundary issues. So what are the areas or what are the international multilateral bodies where we'll have cooperation? BIMSTEC, SAARC, Mekong, G7, where Quad, where we are cooperating with each other. So such type of things. So issues, majorly present issues. Now this is a framework. Now we'll discuss Sri Lanka, Indo-Sri Lankan relations. After that, if at all any point that was coming in the newspaper, so mostly 99% was covered in the class itself. Suppose any new thing came across. Now what you have to do, you already have this thing in your mind. Suppose now we gave another $100 million for the Sri Lankan line of credit. We gave that credit to Sri Lanka. That was the news after 2 days. What you have to do, you have to write it in economy investment. So your mind already had developed a framework. Now, in the examination you have to write an answer on the international relations. We will see that question also. So now what you have to write, you should not sit and think what are the points that I have to write. You have to lift your pen and start writing depending upon the question, which sector they asked. If the question on a whole, write a point on each of it, how the relations were. So this is how you have to develop a framework for each and every topic. You have to think. Your orientation should change. Unless until if it is the same way, we can't help out in writing an examination. Either it's a groups or the civil services. Group mains also you have to produce the content. Is this clear? Please take down these side headings. Politically. So politically what all we'll see? So what type of visits, multi-led cooperations. See, one more thing you can add, environment. Nowadays environment is a very crucial one. Political, economic, trade, investment, infrastructure, social dimension, security, strategic, defense. See, in the security, what all we need in the security? Energy security. How that country is helpful for us in the energy perspective. See, we don't have much of the resources, energy resources. So we have to depend either for the uranium or for the lithium or for, you can say, oil, coal. We are depending on the other countries. So if we take the Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan or the Australia, why we need a good relations with Australia? Or why we are siding with it? We need uranium. For our nuclear development, nuclear energy development, we need Australia. In that way, your thinking should change. Energy security, food security, nowadays water, or you can say hydro wars. Hydro wars usually occur between the neighbor countries only. China over the Brahmaputra or the Bangladesh or the Nepal, so or with the Pakistan. So we will have those issues. Okay, and nowadays we are also we have to include cyber security because the warfare changed. Earlier we used to use these missiles and all those things. Nowadays cyber security, science and technology, tourism, cultural, and this cooperation we can include here, multilateral bodies, cooperation through multilateral bodies, environment, and most important, the questions will come around this strategic important. I am just giving you an example only for international relations. In that way we can develop one after the another. When we are looking into different topics, we will see this framework. Now if I will see, don't worry, after this class when you are leaving, I promise you that you will write India Bangladesh or India Nepal on your own, because I just have to write a point on each of this. If you want to learn, if the question is on strategic or on the issues, mostly on this, but when I know the background, when I know the facts, it will be easy for us to analyze. See, for analytic, when we want to analyze, if I know the facts, either qualitative facts or quantitative facts, either in the numbers or through examples, we have to analyze. See, if I say this girl is a good girl, who will believe? I am saying it in the class, this girl is a good girl, who will believe? I have to give some example. I have to substantiate my argument with examples. Listen carefully. This is very important. In an essay, if you are providing an argument, and you have to provide with an example. I have to provide, so she does this, she does that, then only you will believe. My argument will be strong when I provide examples. It could be anything. If I say, as we are going to take the topic, freebies or a burden to an economy, state's economy. I said that point. Even 10th class kid who is reading newspaper can say that statement. Then how you are different? You have to say RBI said this. The GDP of the states, the gross states GDP to the debt is high, this much according to RBI. RBI said, it's not me. So when RBI is saying, the value of argument will increase. Not every time, it's not only just numbers. We have to provide sometimes qualitative examples also. We'll see that too. When you're writing an answer, you should remember all these things. I know it's overwhelming, I'm telling too many things at a time. So, but all these things all these dots will join eventually. Okay. Now, so if you're doing in this way and if you're reading in an analytical way, automatically the interconnections will form. How we have seen the tiger reserve, and you should know what's the difference between a tiger reserve, national park, wildlife sanctuary. Mudumalai is a national park. It's a part of a biosphere reserve. There's a wildlife sanctuary. UPSC's previous year question, until you think, you question everything, this exam is not going to be easy. Simply, I will read for 15 hours what was given in the notes or in the material, it won't help you. If that is the case, who has the very good memory power and who works for the 24 hours, so they will clear the exam. Who does the analytical thinking, they are going to win along with the hard work. Now, what are the types of questions that we can see in the prelims and mains? How we are going to prepare for that? So, in the prelims, if you take, mostly there will be fact-based questions. So, IIP, what is index of industrial production? So, what are the components? So, how or who gives that? Who releases that? IIP index. Such type of questions are one type of questions, or some questions will be, so if interconnections or analytical questions where they'll test your conceptual knowledge. So if the inflation increases, what will happen to our GDP or what will happen to the fiscal deficit? If the repo rate of if the repo rate was increased by RBI, what will happen to the fiscal deficit or to the what we can say to the inflation? So how this helps? So that is a question. They're not asking about inflation or not about the, so analytical questions where they'll test your concepts. But nowadays mostly everything will be on the going a little deeper into the topics. So suppose if you are reading Poshan Abhiyan. What is Poshan Abhiyan? What is Poshan Abhiyan? It's a government program to eradicate the malnutrition among the children of India. National Nutrition Mission was also comes under that, it also known as. So now when that was, actually it was in the newspaper. How many observed that? It was in this week newspaper, Poshan Abhiyan. It was, many times it occurred in the newspaper, but it was there in this week where PM Modi talks about it. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. You are reading, but you're not reading what we want for the exam. So now when we take an government policy, okay, Poshan Abhiyan. So when you see an government scheme, there is a government scheme. What all we have to know about government scheme? Yes. So what is the objective of the program? What is the objective? Why it is? So who are the target people? Old, disabled, women, children, which group? All those things. Next, what is the vision? Every program will have vision. So by this year, by this decade, we want to reduce the nutrition by this or improve the literacy rate by these levels. So vision. So what are the components? Components of these schemes. In 2015-16, there are numerous questions on the programs itself, especially these components. It has majorly 3 components, majorly on the stunting, or anemia. So components we'll see. Next, who implements this? Which ministry? Poshan Abhiyan. Who will implement this program? Just guess. Which ministry will do that? Women and Child Development. Many people will say health. It's not health. Women and Child Development Ministry will go through this this program comes under that department. Okay, next. And not only that, so there are some programs or some schemes where there is a share of both the central government and state government. How many of you have gone through yesterday's news, Telangana news? What happening in Telangana? Nirmala Sitharaman visited on Telangana. So she asked the collector, a program, so what is the share of central government and the state government in that program? See, suppose if they are giving 100, suppose a subsidy was giving 500 rupees, some amount will come from the central government, some amount the state burden. How much share? So sometimes it will be 70:30, some programs it will be 90:10. So if it is an union territories or earlier Jammu and Kashmir state, when it is a state, it's 90:10. The center will bear the 90% of all the programs, most of the programs in Jammu and Kashmir. 10% the state will do that. So I'm trying to tell you here, so that is, so which will going to do this. So this is where what we can see. So this is from prelims perspective majorly. And one more thing, who are the members or agencies that will participate in that will implement this program? Anganwadi workers or Asha workers or any other district collector or the Gram Panchayat, who will do that? Who will implement? So such type of questions, who are the persons that were in what are the agencies or who are the persons that involved in the implementation of the program. So largely this is how you have to read a program. So if you come across a Poshan Abhiyan or any other program in the newspaper, so what your mind should revolve, where it should revolve? Okay, where it is started, who gave, where, so how. So this is from prelims perspective. In mains they may not ask us directly what is Poshan Abhiyan, they won't ask us. But where can I use this Poshan Abhiyan? How can I use? So what all we needed? So malnutrition, first of all it's malnutrition, right? So now in the malnutrition, what all we need facts? How many children, what percentage of children are malnourished in India? And as I told you, we need facts to substantiate. I can't say children are malnourished in India. How much percent? And sometimes there will be in newspapers, we are worse than sub-Saharan African countries. That fact will be there. You have to grab that. So we are worse than some sub-Saharan African countries. We'll take that. And then I'm analyzing malnourishment. Guys, are you understanding what I'm trying to do? This is a framework for prelims. This is how you have to think for mains, a program. Okay. So now I need some data. Whenever if I'm writing a statement in mains, either in an essay or in a GS paper, I need some data. So for that we'll use this. Or you can say on the global hunger index, how we are there, where we are moving. So on the global matters where we are lacking, that we'll see. And next, human capital. See, there are three things: human capital, social capital and economic capital. What is here human capital? India is now having a very rich human capital. What does it mean? Young population who can work in a labor force, such type of people were there. If my children of this country are stunted, they are not having good health. So whatever they are earning, they have to spend on the health expenditure. So how can I work? How can we work? So for the human capital to develop, we need two things. One, education, and other is health. A person need education, a health. Then only I can contribute to my country, in the workforce. That is human capital. Social capital. See, if I'm talking like this, we are not going into an actual topic yet still. So we'll discuss this one after the another. So for now, for this topic, we need human capital. So when I'm writing analysis, so this is a very important issue that need to be addressed so that we can have a good human capital. So that I can use this malnourishment here from Poshan Abhiyan, we were able to reach here. So now what I'm trying to, that is the interconnections I'm talking about. And that is I'm talking about, don't compartmentalize. I don't know where I have to use this information. If you keep in your mind, this is for GS2, GS2, GS3, you can't retrieve that when you're writing an essay. So open your mind. So in that way, there are other questions, other topics on this, we can analyze this further. This analysis where that matters. So anyways, coming back, so in the prelims, we'll have fact-based questions, analytical questions, and some questions based on the interconnections. And mains, it's completely on the analytical basis. Hardly there will be a question related to current affairs on the directly, they won't ask any questions directly, but hardly one or two directly asking for the current affairs. Okay. So is that clear first of all before going to this discussion? Everyone. So now we'll see Indo-Sri Lanka question relations. After seeing Indo-Sri Lanka, I'll give you a question. I want you to write that question. And I'll also make you understand how the questions are framed, so that whenever you see an article, then you have to think, okay, this could be a possible prelims question, this could be a mains question. Okay, this sentence I can't, so suppose there is a sentence, you are not able to decide whether to learn that or not, a small topic. So frame a question on that. If you are not able to frame a question on that, leave that. Don't need to write it down or no need to use anywhere else. So now we'll see Indo-Sri Lanka relations. You might be knowing that, ma'am, when there is going on Taiwan issue, Taiwan Strait, the conflicts around or the tensions around this Taiwan Strait. So why we are discussing Indo-Sri Lankan relations? Why we are discussing? See, of course, Hindu newspaper will write many articles on Hindu-Sri Lankan relations because they are much favorable to the, they are in Tamil Nadu, the basis. Anyways, so we'll find many articles of Indo-Sri Lanka in Hindu newspaper. Besides that, why we are discussing this? One, Chinese ballistic missile and satellite tracking ship Yuong, it came to the port of Hambantota. We have this Chinese ship, that is one. Okay, it happens nowadays, it's happening. So we opposed it. When we are opposed that docking a Chinese spy ship in Sri Lanka, when we opposed it, they said they're just restocking or refueling. They gave an explanation as refueling. When US ships are doing a same or a military exercise are going to a Taiwan Strait, Chinese said that you are entering into an exclusive zones. It created an issue. Following the paper, right? So when US ships are going across, you said it's an issue. When your spy ship is, you are placing it in a very near port to the India, so that would be an issue. When we asked, they said that refueling. And Sri Lanka is not harming any, doesn't have any, or one can say, interest in harming the India because we need India. All these diplomatic words they said. So what India did, now they said militarization of Taiwan Strait. For the first time, India used, see, what I'm trying to tell you here is how this international relations are changing. Earlier, we didn't interfere much into the Taiwan relations. Taiwan and China issues, we didn't interfere much because we recognized Taiwan one China policy. We recognized one China policy, so we didn't much interfere into the Taiwan Strait or the Taiwan issues. We are just having good trade relations and cultural relations with Taiwan. But nowadays, what happening? So when the tensions are going around, we didn't make an official statement also how we are looking into this. But when this happened, we said militarization of Taiwan Strait. So that is one point. I'll come to again that point. So 6 Tamil Nadu fishermen arrested by Sri Lankan Navy. Every month you can see the statement. Fishermen arrested Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan Indian fishermen arrested them. So this statement we'll see regularly. So these are the 2 things that was happening in this week. So but my concern is not over the Taiwan, we'll definitely see that issue. But we, in an international topic, if you see in our syllabus, it was said India and its relations and India's relation with neighborhood. It clearly said neighborhood. So this is the first important one that we can find in the paper. So now I will go through this history or to the other factual data little faster way, and we do the analytical part. What is your analytical part? What I mean by analytical part is, as I said you earlier, listen please carefully. I may be a little fast. I know you are freshers, but I'm trying to put the thought in your mind. So whenever you come across such type of things, you can think. Even if you don't understand, please ask me after the class. I'm just giving the thought to your mind. Whenever you see an article, you have to think in that way. Now, if I ask you a question, there is a paradigm shift in the India's foreign policy. That's a question. UPSC's paper 2 question, paradigm shift in India's foreign policy. See, the foreign policy depends upon the government of the time. Nehru had his own non-alignment policy, or first we had good relations with China initially. Nehru had his own, Indira Gandhi had his own, and UPA coalition government. Earlier 2 terms were UPA government. It had its own foreign policy, the way they treat. See, at the time it's a coalition government. If they want to take in relations with Sri Lanka, they have to ask Amma. Anyways, Amma is now not there. Anyways, because if Amma doesn't give the support to the UPA government, it will collapse. So they should ask the UPA Amma whether what the relations they should have with the Sri Lanka. And if they want to make a good relations or the Teesta boundary or any other boundaries, land boundary agreements with the Bangladesh, they should ask Didi, West Bengal. If they are not, she will take away the support. So at that time there was no, very less, the Indian foreign policy was around, not that assertive, not strong, adamant. But now things changed because the center is strong center. So, and as I told you, the foreign policy depends upon the government also, the person who is the head of it. Okay. Now, till now we didn't interfere, or we are recognizing one China policy. Now we said militarization. We didn't vote for the UNSC earlier, first, not this recent one. Earlier we didn't, in the Ukraine war, we didn't vote in the, we abstained from voting. Ukraine asked us why India abstained from, for voting. Why? When our minister, defense minister, when external minister was asked, Jaishankar was asked, in an interview, he was asked, sir, do you think Indian money, we are buying oil from Russia, so that Indian money is funding Russian war, Russia-Ukrainian war. Jaishankar asked, only Indian money is funding Russian war? Europeans are buying gas from Russia, even when war was going on. Is that money is not funding for the war on Russia? So, why earlier we are not taking that stand? Now we are taking the stand, a very clear stand. One is we are developing economically. We are becoming a strong nation, and at the same time, the government also matters. So when they asked, so why when you are not supporting Europe in the war, you are not taking the side of Europe in the Ukrainian war, so you abstain the vote. So then how Europe will come when you are having struggles with China or with the Pakistan? So how Europe will come? When this question was asked to Jaishankar, he said, first of all, Europe should keep in mind that Europe problems are not world problems. And all world problems, when Europe is having a problem, all world should go and help Europe. That mindset changed long back. Earlier, we are all the colonies of Europe. So one way or the other way we used to Commonwealth, or some way we used to support Europe. But now that is not the case. So what I am trying to tell you, suppose, let's think, there is another newspaper event or the news that is going to come after 2 days or 1 week or 1 month later, where again India took a stand or deviating from the earlier foreign policy. I will take that point, I will observe that point, oh, enjoy it, oh, how India took the stand, I will use that in my answer. Are you getting what I am trying to say? Guys, please let me know if you are not understanding even a bit of it, because I am trying to help you to analyze your orientation, your mindset should change. So taking some material from that institute or this institute or from the class and reading it before the examination, it won't help. It won't help. Remember very carefully, if you are a serious aspirant for the civil services, read every day. and do analysis on your own, not on others. Develop that thinking. Now, so as I told you, we'll go in a brief history because as you are all freshers, so I'll give you a short introduction to the Indo-Sri Lankan relations and we'll go to the contemporary issues. Now, in the history, we know it's a very closest neighbor to us, and we have from the ancient time, from the Ramayana, Ravana, all this time also we have an presence of Sri Lanka in our histories. So now that's not a part what we need. So India was independent in 1947. So 1948, Sri Lanka got independence. So a Sinhalese government was formed. So when that was formed, so the northern province, especially the northern and northeastern provinces of Sri Lanka, there were Tamilians, and Sinhalese government showed a discrimination towards this Tamilians. This is a very big ethnic issue that was in Sri Lanka still. So then, because of this reason, because of this discrimination and suppression, so when there was no solution, constitutional solution was not formed, then what happened? LTT was formed. You know, right, Prabhakaran, when we were kids, at least I was kid at them, we might be much lesser. So there is Prabhakaran. So he was the head, he was formed this military force, LTT. So they used to fight against this government, but there is a thing that was used to say, Raw supported LTT initially. There was many rumors. Anyways, that doesn't matter for us. We can't write that in the examination, so we'll delete from our mind. So LTT was formed by V. Prabhakaran. So to solve that issue, the continuously a military force was military insurgence was going on in the country. So India, Sri Lanka made an accord. So what is the major purpose of this agreement? It has majorly two goals. One, so they want to join these ethnic groups in the mainstream politics. They should leave the war weapons and join the mainstream politics. And how should this should be happen? By political devolution. They have to give some power, devolute the power to them, because the government is Sinhalese government and the Tamilians in that place were discriminated. So that is the reason they were asking for a political devolution, but it was not clear and this accord was rejected by LTT. Later on, Sri Lankan government based on this made a 13th amendment to their constitution. This is important for us. Now and then whenever we are reading these articles on India, Sri Lanka, we will see this 13th amendment. So what is this amendment? It gives devolution of power by creating provincial councils. But LTT rejected this accord. Under this accord, they made 13th amendment by giving some sort of power to by making a provincial councils in the northern provinces. So Sri Lanka did that, but it was not LTT was not happy with this amendment. Because the power they gave, it was not in a true terms. The devolution was not in true terms. That's why they rejected it. So because of that, because Rajiv Gandhi, all these people supported the Sri Lankan government to suppress LTT because they want a peaceful solution. For that reason, so Rajiv Gandhi was killed by the LTT, and later on through war and other means, through war, especially Sri Lanka got support from Pakistan and China to suppress this LTT. So LTT was wiped out by 2009. Okay, clear? So initially there was an India-Sri Lankan accord. Under that accord, what they did? They made an 13th amendment to the constitution, Sri Lankan constitution, under which they formed a devolution of power and provincial councils were formed. Under 13th amendment, provincial councils were formed. That is what we have to learn from the history. LTT was wiped out. Okay, clear? So now what happened after LTT? After LTT, so the relations between India and Sri Lanka, it changed, it went to another mode. What is another phase? Now there was a war, all this was destroyed, the place, the northern provinces was destroyed. So most of them were Tamilians, these are Tamilian provinces. So India took a responsibility to build the houses, railways, for the development of this region. We'll see that. Okay. So first we saw the history of it, how it went. So now you got an idea of what happened in the Sri Lanka. Now, so in the economy, so we are the second largest trading partner and third largest source of investment in Sri Lanka. So in the trade, if you take, we made a free trade agreement with Sri Lanka. Okay. So under that free trade agreement, so we used to export, who majorly benefited from this free trade agreement? Sri Lanka benefited from it. 60% of Sri Lankan total exports to India. See, when I am exporting, see, some country is sending exports to my country. What I will do? I will levy this tax, that tax, many taxes I will impose on it, and I will increase the cost of that product so that my product will sustain. This is how it works. But now what we did? We made a free trade agreement. So now we can't levy all the taxes on these products. So under this agreement, so 60% of Sri Lankan products will come under that agreement. So that's a very huge benefit to Sri Lanka. But India's products only 5%. 5% of India's exports to Sri Lanka will come under that free trade agreement. Anyways, Sri Lanka got benefit from this agreement. Next, what are the things that they'll get from us? Aircraft, space, mineral fuels, ships, boats, cotton, all these things they will import from India. And what they'll export? Animal food, refined petroleum and other nuts. Those are the things that we will import from Sri Lanka. So that is an area. See, imagine now we have to see, UPSC is so beautiful, the preparation especially, whether we will clearing that's a different case. What it will teach us is, when we will go into this is cumulonimbus clouds. When the rain is coming, we will say cumulonimbus clouds. No, this cloud is that only. So the rainfall will come. So this monsoon is coming from Bay of Bengal only, this cyclone is from. Oh, it already reached Kerala, so then it have to turn this side. Because we are having that beauty. If you go to, so this has happened with me also. Whenever I'll go, I'll say, whenever we went to this Mahabalipuram, I was like, UNESCO recognized World Heritage Site. My husband is like, no, we don't need guide only. My wife will explain everything for you. So whenever we are having the sugarcane juice over on the street, we're like, sugarcane juice here? So which is the major producer of sugarcane? So sugarcane we can't export it to the long transportation because it will lose that juice. So it should have a nearby export. So nowadays it is Maharashtra rather than UP for drinking a sugar cane. So when there's so whenever someone asks us about the tribunal, we'll think, oh, Central Administrative Tribunal, oh, we know about it. So economy, we'll talk about it. Culture, yes, we know. Science and technology, everything you'll ask. So whenever if you're standing in a group, if you go back to your BTech groups or wherever groups, you'll appear like they'll think, wow, Buddha is coming where the knowledge is radiating from us. That will happen. So why I'm telling you this is, now we are here. So what products does Sri Lanka export? Tell me. It's a country where located on the tip of India. So the monsoon heavy rainfall will hit the Sri Lanka. So which are the crops, what are the crops that can grow in, which needs heavy rain? Not much of the wheat. Rubber. Kerala produces good rubber. Sri Lanka produces good rubber. Coffee plantations, because when there is a hills, so we'll have the important soil will go out, so will coffee plantations. Nuts, because they have thick forest. Heavy rain, heavy forest. See, I'm using this small terms, not the geographical deciduous forest, all these things, because it will give more confusion, and just understanding telling you thinking part. No need to buy hard these. Why refined petroleum and all these things? Because it is having good exclusive economic zone around it. It can mine from the seabed. It can get good minerals from the ocean. So we'll animal fodder, as I told you, trees, different, they're grazing. So we'll get animal fodder from them. What I'm trying to tell you here is the thinking. Don't need to memorize. Now, if anyone randomly comes, what Sri Lanka can export? Now you came to know, but so what you have to think? Okay, Sri Lanka. So it was under then heavy rain. So heavy rain, what can grow? What are the plants they can do? So how it is having a ocean around it. So the minerals from the ocean or the tidal energy. You can write points on your own. You know many points. You're just not able to recognize that you know the points because you're afraid that UPSC need that thinking, that level of knowledge. I didn't read that book, this book. No, first think in your mind. It will give you good answers if you know the concepts very well. Okay, anyways, coming back. So investment, as I told you earlier, we are one of the largest contributor to the foreign direct investment in Sri Lanka. So amount of this. And see, our private sector is also interested. Tata, Adani was given a port to develop. Adani Ports was given a port in Sri Lanka to develop and to use. We'll see that also, don't worry. So private sector is entering into the in Sri Lanka. Earlier it was there, but nowadays the presence is increasing. In the hospitality, food processing, cement, banking, telecommunications, pharma. India's pharma sector is a very strong sector. It was very much proved during the COVID times. We proved to the world that we are one of the pharma capital for this world. 30% of drugs that were available in America was from the India. Okay. Anyways, see, I learned that fact somewhere else. I'm using it here. This is the interconnections. When you have a grip over the subject, concepts, or when you have the confidence of reading a topic, then you'll do that easily. Okay. Anyways, so by Sri Lankan companies are also coming, we are also providing opportunities for them in India, for the Sri Lankan companies. These are the companies. Now this, whatever I underline with the lines, that is the recent developments. Along with the past history or the details, I am giving you the recent developments. So when this economic crisis occurred in Sri Lanka, we provided $1 billion. So this is a statement. When you have to write an answer, you can write this. When you have a time, say suppose if it is an answer is on another topic where you have to provide just a point about Sri Lanka, you will write this. If the topic is how India helped Sri Lanka during the economic crisis, then you will write this. Are you getting what I am trying to tell? Depending upon the question, you have to change your answer. If it requires only one point on Indo-Sri Lanka, we will write this. If the question is totally about Indo-Sri Lanka, then we will write this. So $1 billion, India 1 billion line of credit for the purchase of essential food items, pharma products and purchase of oil. They were very grateful to India for the providing this 1 billion line of credit, especially for the purchase of oil, and 500 million through Exim Bank of India, and also to help for the balance of payments. So they also gave debt referral to the Asian Clearing House of 550 million. What is this debt referral? So India said, chalo Asian house, Sri Lanka won't pay the money or the debt interest for the next 2 months or 3 months. I am giving an example. India will not pay debt for coming 2 months or 3 months. Then when I am not paying, what will happen? It will help for my settlement of balance of payments. Some money will be left with me from Sri Lanka. Are you getting? Debt referral we gave. Currency swap of 400 million US dollars. Currency swap, see, when I am going to the outside country, there is no value for Sri Lankan currency. How can I purchase? Or if I have to swap, I need foreign reserves. I don't have any foreign reserves. Whatever I had the money, I used it. I'm in debt. So this currency swap will help in that situation. Okay. The gist of this in 2 lines is this. This is a full actually. So 1 billion line of credit, especially for food essentials and pharma and oil. And from the Exim Bank of India, we gave a revolving credit of 500 million for their balance of payments. We supported them in the Asian Clearing House Union. Okay. And also have an currency swap. Infrastructure. So what do we have in the infrastructure? As I told you, we gave many times we gave credit to the Sri Lanka, especially for what? For building railways, transport, especially building the connectivity in the northern provinces. We need a connectivity in the northern provinces for the defense, for establishing solar. It is near to equator. It will have a very good number of sunny days, right? So the length of the day is also huge. So we will help them to develop an solar energy. So these are the things where India worked very well. I'm not going to them, so you can go. These are just examples where we built a railway line from Colombo to Matara, telecom communications. These are the factual things. Please go through them. So as I told you, we have an rehabilitation programs in the northern provinces. We built, please go through them. All the simple statements: government buildings, rooftop solar units, and all these things. And developmental works. See, what makes India different from China in different countries? This is the point which you have to remember for most of the questions, because we are writing UPSC examination, even if it's not that helpful, but we have to write in the exam. India has very good soft power. Even though, what I'm trying to tell you here is, in Africa, China invested huge amount of money for the development of industries and infrastructure, but India had, in most of the countries, a very good soft power. Soft power means, see, they'll think that having a good relations with India is very comfortable than with the China. I'm not explaining what soft power, it will take another time. So we have that people to people contact, we'll maintain that cultural contacts. That is one small advantage over China to India. So developmental works, so as I told you, we will be demand driven, our approach will be demand driven and people centric. We will concentrate on people majorly. So Indian housing project, so we built almost, so initially it was 50,000, but later another 10,000 was added. Almost 62,500 houses need to be built in Sri Lanka. In that almost most of it, 20-30,000 buildings were already built for the plantation workers in other regions. So we have already built the houses. As I told you, we have to learn, we have to just have an idea. In the examination, we no need to have to write all these things. For you to understand the topic as a whole. As a whole, I got you this. So in the social services, building hospitals, giving them education, those things will come under social works. Next, as I told you, we'll think about, we'll also, what is other dimensions? Cooperation through multilateral bodies. So SAARC, India and Sri Lanka are part of SAARC, but the SAARC is not, it is not even having a summit since 2016, not even a virtual summit. Meeting at one place is different, because wherever they meet, the India and Pakistan will be fighting with each other. So no, no agreements or no solutions was coming out of that SAARC. So anyways, it is not in a good position to take the decisions. Anyways, so we are part of SAARC, BIMSTEC, Indian Ocean Rim Association. So there were 23 states in this association, all those located along the Indian Ocean. So we made MOUs along with this Maldives and Mauritius and Sri Lanka for the development of Indian Ocean economy. In that way, there are many other bodies where India and Sri Lanka are part, but these are the major ones. So in the defense, we are training there, 500 to 600 people, military training and police officers were given training in India. So as I told you, in the trilateral arrangement, India and Maldives and Sri Lanka, there was an, for countering this terrorism, counter-terrorism. See, nowadays they're using the sea routes to enter into the countries, or see in the Maldives also there are many terrorist attacks, bomb squads, we are listening into the news, right? So to avoid that, just to avoid, so we had a trilateral agreement between India, Maldives and Sri Lanka for counter-terrorism. So for diplomatic training institutions, they get this project, planes. So all these things comes under defense. Guys, this is a factual data, please go through this. Wherever there is a need for an explanation, I will do that. Okay. So even PM went to this Anuradhapura, so there he prayed and everything. So anyways, we improved the Buddhist temples. So we built a Jaffna Cultural Center. I'll show you a map of it. In the tourism, if you take, 1/3 of tourists coming to the Sri Lanka were from India, and we even developed 52 sites in Sri Lanka for the tourism perspective. From that angle, tourism angle, we even helped them. Here, the explanation comes here. So what we learned the history. We came to know how is the trade. So what are the exports and imports? We have seen the investment, how the foreign direct investment of India went to the Sri Lanka, how the private players were involved, that part, how the infrastructure was developed, how the development works were developed, social or hospital things or the education wise, building houses, that is one part. Culture, defense, the majorly factual data. Now here, these are the issues. Whenever they ask the questions, they will majorly revolve around here. But there will be a times where we have to provide 1 or 2 points from the topics which we are discussed earlier. I will tell you how it is. Now, we will see an ethnic issue. As I told you, this issue was not solved. We will see solution for it later. First, we will see this fisherman issue. So, what is this fisherman issue? Initially, India and Sri Lanka were having a very good maritime boundary since ages. So, after independence, we made an agreements. Almost 4 agreements were made to decide this maritime boundary. So, now what happened? Why they were made majorly to facilitate law enforcement and resource management in the Park Strait. So, this is Park Strait, and here we have this Jaffna. So, here we have seen, it was already written, here there is Jaffna. So, as I told earlier, Jaffna Cultural Center was built. Okay. So, here we have an island, this red one is an Kachativu island, we will see that later. So, what we learned? So, in the fishermen we made an agreements. In the fisherman issue we have seen that India and Sri Lanka made an agreements. So, what was this agreements? What was going on in this? India, the fishermen have allowed only access to the islands for resting, drying of nets and the annual St. Anthony festival, but not for fishing. Indian fisherman doesn't have rights to fish, do the fishing in the borders, especially that Park Strait near this Kachativu Islands. Only we can do drying of nets, resting or the festivals we can celebrate. But what is happening nowadays? India had very good technology. See, listen, this is an interesting story. Here there is a northern province, LTT is controlling. Earlier, LTT is controlling this northern province. So, now what happened because of that? So, this Tamilian fishermen used to fish freely without much restrictions, So, without much restrictions in this area, earlier they used to fish because LTT used to control this area. After LTT, what happened? Now Sri Lankan Navy is controlling this area. Are you getting what I am trying to say? Sri Lankan Navy is controlling this area and it is now difficult for the Indian fishermen to go into that area. Actually, we are not supposed to do the fishing. Why our fishermen were going to that area? Because the continental shelf, we are using many modern technologies, deep water fishing. So, the aquatic life in our region, in our area, it was less, it is decreasing, the aquatic life is decreasing. So, for that reason what these people are doing? These people are going and doing a fishing in their regions. So, what they will do? They are arresting our fishermen. So, that was this trying to say here. So, very simple, we are entering into the region for fishing because the fish is not available in our shores. Because of different modern technologies we are using, that is not sufficient for Indians. So, we are entering into the regions. So, simply protecting the maritime boundaries of the country for the poaching and securing the livelihood of Sri Lankan fishermen. We are not doing anything, we are just protecting the fishermen. That was said by Sri Lanka. So, what is this Kachativu island? As I told you, it was near to this Rameshwaram. So, then what happened? So, it was a dispute between India and Sri Lanka from many years. Actually, under the agreement, this island was given to Sri Lanka, but that was not without the consent of Tamilians. Without the consent of Tamil government, they handed over it. So, because of that reason, okay, I will do one thing, we will discuss this again, but I want you to go through this Chinese factor so that it will help you. Give me for 5 more minutes. Okay. So, guys, everyone, I will take this fisherman issue again, but I want to go through this Chinese factor so that you are able to write a question. Okay. So, Chinese factor, listen to this very carefully. So, China had an initiative, one road, one belt, which is nowadays known as Belt and Road Initiative of China. Sri Lanka is part of that. So now what happened under this, China was given to develop Port Hambantota and Port Colombo. Thus, actually this was offered to India initially. Sri Lanka asked India to develop that port initially. We said we didn't have that much money. So that offer went to China. So China, for developing this port, it took that port for 99 years for the lease. It can't give them the money back, it can't give the debt. It leased that for 99 years. So now what happened? So deep water ports were developed. The capacity of ports were developed with the help of China. The Chinese ports were developed. Now, Sri Lanka is part of a string of pearls of China. What is here string of pearls of China? See, let us take the world map. So here we have this, and here, so I'll draw over here, Australia, here we have. So what is the string of pearls means? That is a term given by the US government to the China's policy. What China is trying to do? It is trying to connect Asia with Africa, here we have Africa, with Africa and Europe. China want to connect Asia with Africa and Europe via land and maritime routes. So now what happened, when it is connecting this, it is forming a string of pearls around India. It developed Chittagong port in Bangladesh, it developed Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, it developed Gwadar port in Pakistan. It is surrounding India. It is making a pearl, string of pearls around India. Even it developed around in Africa and all the seas, that we'll see later. So this string of pearls, so the concept of this term was used by US ambassadors, but actually the term is, because it is here, we are locating here China, so it is developing around India, developing different ports. How we are countering this string of pearls, we'll see later. Now what happened? So this is clear, right? China is an largest trading partner with Sri Lanka. It developed the ports of Sri Lanka. It also tried to deepen the capacity of ports of Sri Lanka, where it can use where it can store this, dock these huge vessels, huge big ships we can dock at Sri Lankan ports, because China developed them. Sri Lanka is in a strategic location where the important sea lanes of communication, if the ship has to go to South China Sea, how it have to? From Europe via Sri Lanka, from Africa through Sri Lanka to Singapore, China, Japan, everywhere, how the European things will go? Across Sri Lanka they have to. So the important, these are the terms which you have to remember. Sea lanes of communication, important sea lanes of communication or through this Sri Lanka. That's the region where so China developed that ports. Now how it will become revenue for Sri Lanka? See, I'm on a ship that is carrying this cargo for the Singapore, or I'm from Vietnam. Let's think I'm from Vietnam. A ship carrying the huge. So now I can dock at Sri Lanka. It has that facilities. I'll provide money. I'll give the charges, service charges for Sri Lanka for docking. Get? So that is how China is helping the Sri Lanka. There are many other perspectives, but this is one of it. Ma'am, there is, when we are having them very good relations, cultural relations, people to people relations, but there is a time where Indo-Sri Lanka relations went down. What happened? In February 2021, actually, so a MOU was signed between India and Japan to develop an East Coast terminal. Colombo's East Coast terminal want to be developed. That was MOU between India and Japan. They want to sign, but they didn't sign, because later they gave that project to Chinese company. They made a deal that India and Japan is going to develop that East Coast terminal, but later they gave it to Chinese, saying, and one or the other reasons they are saying is logistic reasons, different reasons, bureaucratic reasons they are saying, and they are stopping the deals with India. Sri Lanka is stopping deals with India because of the backing of China's. China money is backing Sri Lanka. So here if you see, here is a port, Hambantota. Here we have port of Colombo. As I told you, important sea lanes of communications were going through this. So they can dock huge ships over here. So later on, see, as I told you, what they are saying, logistic issues and bureaucratic reasons. Later on, Sri Lanka gave West Coast Terminal project to, later on they gave that. So India Sri Lankan close ties were not logical, and the relationship with China was not at the expense of India. This is a statement given by the Sri Lankan minister. He is saying that we are taking up support of China, but at the same time we are also having a good relations with India. That's what he wants to convey. So as I told you, it is an important strategic importance. I'll finish it a little faster. Major sea lanes of communication. It will help for the blue economy. To get the resources from the Indian Ocean, we need the help of Sri Lanka. We can cooperate with the Sri Lanka. So see, if we want to go across from Bay of Bengal to Arabian Sea, or from the Arabian Sea to Bay of Bengal, we have to go across Sri Lanka. If we are having a good relations, there is a chance that how to make the heavy vessels to move across this. Now we have to turn around like this, all the way around Sri Lanka. So that need to be improved. And we are also part of India's neighborhood first policy. This is the question. Okay, we'll wrap it in 2-3 minutes. India-Sri Lanka relations have new enthusiasm and fresh energy. How do I frame this question? I'm telling you from the teacher's perspective. How do I frame this question? This was a statement when the interview was done to the Sri Lankan minister. He said, now no issues. India supported us with the line of credit, this, that and this. So now India-Sri Lanka relations were new enthusiasm and we are having a fresh energy. Critically analyze. Now if I give you this question, you know the history, you know the economy, infrastructure, investment. Other than the fisherman issue and ethnic issue, I'll deal later. The strategic issue we have dealt, how it went to China. Now, new enthusiasm and fresh energy. Critically analyze. The question is critically analyze. So how we are going to analyze? Please tell me 2 points, I'll be very happy. I'm talking this much time. See, they're not asking about old relations, or they're not asking about how it is a new enthusiasm. So I'm saying a new enthusiasm means how I can, if you know me, old me, if you know the new me, then only you can compare. Now I'm new, I'm fresh. Now what we have to do? We have to say, earlier this is a agreement between India and Sri Lanka. Now we gave this much credit in the situation, in the dire situations of Sri Lanka, in this economic crisis, we helped with this money, with this credit, with this currency swap. We gave this private companies, we did that, we did this. So now a joint patrolling thing was coming up for the fishermen. India and Sri Lanka want to do a joint patrol. The discussions were going on. That is also new one. Giving an East Coast terminal to the Adani ports, a new energy. Allowing Indian private companies with an ease. Earlier they said bureaucratic reasons. Now they're giving, with an ease they're giving permissions. All this is of new enthusiasm, fresh energy, right? Okay, so that is how you have to write a question. So this is another one, we'll discuss that later. Is that clear? So what is the takeaway from this class? Whatever you see, from today, from now onwards, what you're going to do, you'll do any topic, either history, geography, economy, or whatever it might be, you'll do analytical thinking. Even if you see anything outside the Vishnu IAS or stepping out of this class, you'll think about it, not the bakwas things, important ones, okay? And then you will do the framework. Now, if just after this class, just without opening anything, without seeing the slide, write 10 points about India and Sri Lanka. You'll write within ease. Because if I write one sentence about one word dimension, you'll finish 10 points. Okay? So when you know the concept very clearly, it is easy to write an answers. Now, please, for the next class, I want you to write this question. Even 2 lines. See, if I take a class for 5 days on international relations, you can finish international relations. You can learn them. But in 5 days, you can never learn answer writing. Answer writing takes months and months of practice. Only through practice you can do that. I can teach you international relations in 5 days. You can very good grip of it. Examiner doesn't know what's in your mind. Examiner knows only your paper. Only your paper. So you are writing an answer. Even 2 sentences, I don't judge you. I won't judge you, why he wrote like this, why she did this. I won't judge you. At least attempt that question. So I think I can expect that from you guys. Thank you.